The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy.
So this guy in the fantasy baseball chat is just ripping me. He's calling me names for how I handled my team. Buddy, you had 20 weeks for your own team to play better. Don't be mad at me.
The passion.
Mac Jones is fighting not just for his Patriots job, but he very well may be fighting for his NFL future.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
For the Red Sox, it can't always be about next year. It can't always be about down the road. Where's the team that battles for now?
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday here in the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We got a full show tonight, all 90 minutes, and it is a full show. We got two interviews, the rare two-interview show. Buster Olney going to be with us at 5:45. I believe Buster is live in a hotel room in Atlanta getting ready for the NLDS between the Phillies and the Braves. We'll find out if that's exactly where Buster is, but he'll be with us in about 15 minutes. We're going to have Alisa Kresge, the UVM women's basketball coach, on at the 6 o'clock hour, about 6:40. Her team is on the hardwood at Patrick Gym practicing. They're about a month away from their first scrimmage of the year and about a month away from the start of the regular season. Also, they're coming off an America East title last year, so we'll catch up with Coach Kresge. Soon enough, we'll catch up with Coach Becker as well and take a look at the UVM men's program. But I am getting very, very excited for Catamount Hoops right now. We've also got some news on Drew Holiday and his intro press conference yesterday with Celtics and some notes on the Patriots as well. Danny is here. I am here. You are here on the text line, 802-585-3026. That's 802-585-3026. Danny, let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts of the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber, as well as in Rouse's Point, New York, and sticksandstuff.com. I'm very excited, by the way. We as a show are now doing a much better job at populating the clips from our show on my social media channels. So we were really good at it last year through kind of UVM hoop season. Then once everything kind of ended and we were kind of just in Red Sox mode, we kind of got away from it because the shows weren't as long. Now that we're back into full shows, you can go on my Twitter account at WDEV Radio Brady. We're doing a much better job again at repopulating our content, our guest content, our show content, our clips, my opinions, your reactions could be there as well. So it's just another way to bring the show closer to you. So we're back doing a good job with that. So again, WDEV Radio Brady. Buster Olney is going to join us here in about 10 minutes. We're going to have to get him on the phone pretty quickly. So I don't want to go too deep into something and then have to deviate with Buster. So let me tell you a little story, Danny. This is so cool. I am very, very excited about this. Do you remember the name Elise Berger? Is that a name that means something to you?
No.
Okay. So about a year and a half ago or so, we had this story on the sports coverage of the news. We didn't do a lot with it on this show. We did sports coverage on the news. Elise Berger is now a high school senior at CVU, and she is a female student, but she plays on the baseball team at CVU. And she is also a part of Team USA's kind of women's baseball national team. And it's not like a 1600 team or an 1800 team. It's the women's national team. And Elise Berger is good enough to play on it. She was playing in the Baseball World Cup tournament last summer, not as in like a month ago last summer, like a year and a month ago last summer. And she was playing for Team USA, and she started a game on the mound for Team USA in the Women's World Cup. So it's a really cool story about how she's playing on the national team. They're playing international tournaments. She's playing on the boys baseball team at CVU and really holds her own there. She's very, very good. I have not seen her pitch, but the reports are that she's very, very good. So fast forward, Danny. Today, I get a text message. There's a guy who's about 24 years old probably, and I know him fairly well. He's really, really connected locally. So he's always sending me messages on high school guys and local college guys and women and how they're doing, etc. So he shoots me a note this morning, and he says, hey, I wanted you to know about Elise Berger. Now, he didn't know that I knew who Elise Berger was, but I'm not following her that closely, especially because it's not high school baseball season right now. So he messages me. He says, hey, Elise Berger, she played on the national team. She's a female who plays baseball. She's on CVU. She has chosen to play baseball in college, and she's not going to play softball in college. She's chosen to play baseball. Hey, I wanted you to know that. She's going to play at Bard College, which is a Division III school in New York. So first off, congratulations to Elise Berger, a female student in the state of Vermont who is going to pitch at a baseball program playing with the guys. First off, congratulations to her. She is not the first female player to play college baseball. She will certainly not be the last, but she is at the forefront of this kind of revolution is not the right word, but she's at the forefront of this kind of gender breakdown here where there are female players playing baseball with guys at colleges. So first off, congratulations to her. It's a tremendous accomplishment as someone who played college baseball and who played at Division III. It's a tremendous accomplishment to commit to a school and to what I presume will be make a roster. She wouldn't be going there, I assume, if she wasn't confident that she could make the team or hadn't been told by the coaching staff that she was going to make the team. So to play college baseball is a great honor. To play a college sport is a great honor. And Bard College is in a very good league. It's in the Liberty League with a lot of schools that you've heard of, like Skidmore and RPI and Union and all those schools in New York. So let me fast forward to the last part of this. So not only is it really cool for her, it's also really cool for this show, Danny, because you know what? The head coach at Bard College is my former college teammate, Andy Salvatore. So, and I've been following Bard at least kind of lukewarmly for years, right? Like I'm always checking in on them every year and seeing how they're doing. So this guy sends me the message that Elise Berger is going to play college baseball and she's going to play at Bard. And I'm so pumped because I'm pumped for her because what a great story and also what a great accomplishment, but also that my college teammate, a guy who I played with for 2 years is the coach that has recruited her, that wants her to come play in his program, that is going to give her a spot. I think this is a great story. And I was messaging Andy Salvatore, the head coach at Bard, earlier today. I was like, hey man, I got this message. Like, if this is true, like we want to have you on the show. He said, as soon as I'm allowed to talk about recruits, I will come on the show, right? Like there's NCAA compliance rules and things like that, even at Division III. So I don't know when it is that he can actually talk about her or that he can talk about any of his recruits. But when he does, or when he's able to, he's going to be able to come on the show. And I'm pumped about this because what a small world that this is now twice, Danny, that we have had it where people that I know have been really integral parts of cool Vermont local stories. You weren't producing the show yet at this point, but this was summer of 2021 when Owen Kellington got drafted. Owen Kellington, remember, the U32 baseball player who got drafted in the third round of the Major League Draft by the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we've had him on the show a bunch of times. He was drafted in the third round because the Pirates scout was my former teammate at Oswego State as well. And his name was Eddie Charles. And we got him on the show like the day of the draft or the day after the draft. And we were the only place, certainly locally, that had the scout responsible for Owen Kellington being drafted. We might have probably the only people nationally that spoke to this scout about Owen Kellington. So I was like, my former teammate helps draft Vermont's highest ever drafted major league player. And now my former teammate is part of this really cool story where there's a really good player at CVU who happens to be a female who now is going to play baseball on the men's side or at least with the other guys, I should say, at Bard College. And my guy is the head coach of that. I just think it's such a small world. And I'm very, very happy that my old teammate is part of this story as well. And that's now two of my former teammates that have helped do big things for Vermonters and have been a part of big stories. Dan, I think this is really, really cool. And I would love to get Elise Berger on the show as well because it's certainly awesome for her. Man, again, Bard's a good program. and Bart is in a good league. Like this is a good. Like this shows you how good Elise Berger is. This isn't like a program that takes anybody in a league where anybody can play. No, you got to be good to play at Bard and to play in the Liberty League. And I was told by somebody else, not my buddy, the head coach, that she's up to like 85 miles an hour. For reference, I think the highest I ever topped out at was like 83 miles an hour. So Elise Berger throws harder than I ever did. And that is also incredible. So I'm excited to talk to her, to hopefully get to know her a little bit, and then to talk to my old teammate, Coach Salvatore. So I think that is awesome as well. So that's really, really good stuff. You can get in on the text line, 802-585-3026. That is the text line. Buster Olney is going to be with us in just a couple of minutes here. So because we have to call Buster quickly, I wanted to get that story in here, get that story in early. But Buster's going to be with us, talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs. He's got a very interesting thought on the Toronto Blue Jays. I also want to talk to him a little bit about the state of the Red Sox, kind of a continued postmortem. We did a deep dive on the Red Sox yesterday with Tom Caron. We're going to do a little more of that today with Buster. There's a couple of follow-up questions that I want to ask Buster about. Again, Buster's super, super connected to things, so we will continue to get his thoughts. So congratulations to Elise Berger. Congratulations to Coach Salvatore, my teammate at Oswego. Again, played with him for 2 years. He actually was a grad assistant coach for a year as well. So I've been around him for a long time of my baseball life, and he's going to do a great job coaching Elise Berger as well. So that's very, very cool. All right, we're going to go out to the phone line. Buster Olney of ESPN. I believe he's hanging out in a hotel room in Atlanta. We'll find out exactly where in the world Buster Olney is. He's covering the Major League Baseball playoffs. Get his thoughts on the playoffs, his thoughts on the Red Sox. We're off and running here on a Thursday. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM. The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Here in Vermont, it's now easier than ever to recycle computers, television, batteries, household paints, fluorescent bulbs, and mercury thermostats. Special recycling programs let you drop off these items at participating locations for free, since you can't toss them in the trash. To get details on where and how to recycle special items in your neck of the woods, call 1-855-63-CYCLE. That's 1-855-632-9253, or visit vtrecycle.com.
If your winter tires are tired, poor, or otherwise not ready to face this winter, bring your vehicle to us at Waterbury Service Center. We have the right tires from winters, studded, all season. From tiny hybrids to 3/4-ton trucks. We wash, clean, mount, and balance your tires. Stop in today and find the tires you need and the service you deserve. We're Waterbury Service Center, helping you through another long winter. Full service repair right on Main Street in Waterbury. Thank you.
Always on time signs and design. Original and customized signs and designs that catch your eye and promote your business. And for all applications, commercial signs, safety and highway signs, banners, vehicle wraps, window, wall, and floor graphics, and much more. They do it all. Design, construction, and commercial installation. You'll be impressed by their customized designs and quick service, and you'll love their competitive prices. Always on time signs and design in Berlin. AlwaysOnTimeSigns.com.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show here on a Thursday on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Joining us, I believe, in a hotel room in Atlanta covering the Major League Baseball playoffs is Buster Olney, our ESPN MLB insider. Buster, are you in Atlanta right now?
No, how about a house in Minneapolis?
Oh, interesting.
Not Minneapolis, sorry. A house. When I texted you before, I was actually at the Minneapolis airport on my way back to Montana. I'm going to be working next week from Bristol Baseball Tonight Studios.
Okay.
And for me, that starts on Sunday night. But for the next couple days, I'll be back home in Montana.
Oh, well, good for you. I'm glad you get a little R&R before you're back on the road in Connecticut. I want to talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs and kind of look at some of the macro stuff. But yesterday we did a deep dive on the Red Sox and kind of a postmortem. And I want your thoughts on just a couple of things here as we wrap that up. In your estimation, the number one reason the Red Sox are not still playing this year is what? What went wrong most?
Starting pitching.
Yeah.
That's my first instinct without diving too deeply into it. But yeah, I think starting pitching, and that's what Kenley Jansen talked about, in the last week of the regular season, when he essentially said in so many words, he felt like the front office did nothing to help at the trade deadline.
Buster, I understand the challenges of rebuilding in a big market. It doesn't really work with the Yankees. It doesn't really work with the Red Sox. But for me, my number one issue with the Red Sox is that for years now, they've tried to thread a very thin needle of rebuilding the organization while also competing. They haven't gone all in on building up the farm system. They haven't gone all in at the major league level. And as a result, they've been left to play a lot on the margins and a lot in the middle ground, and it all came crumbling down upon them. Do you think that that's a fair criticism by me?
I think you're right that that's what they tried to do. My criticism would be that they have no reason to try to thread the needle.
Yeah,
like, I think if you're the Boston Red Sox, you're the New York Mets, you're the New York Yankees, your big advantage over Tampa Bay, over Milwaukee, over small market teams is you can go for it all the time. You can constantly try. You don't need to go into a tank mode or go into a full-on rebuilding cycle. You can continue to try to win, year after year after year, because if you make a mistake with a signing, with a player acquisition, you have enough money to just simply sort of write that off. A small market team signs a guy to a huge contract and it doesn't work out. That's a mistake that they can't really erase.
Buster, there's a lot of questions for the Red Sox heading into this offseason, and we'll get to them as over the course of the next several months. But one of the biggest questions I have moving forward is who is Trevor Story moving forward, right? He hit 200 in 46 games, and I know he's coming back from the injury, so I certainly want to give him time to get right, and I hope over a full spring training, et cetera, he will. But you look at the numbers, he's only driven in 100 runs once in his career, despite playing in Colorado. His batting average is .303 at Coors Field, and it's much less than that in nearly every other ballpark. Yep. Who exactly is Trevor Story moving forward?
Well, and I think they need more information at the beginning of next year to really get an answer to that. But those are questions that probably should have been asked before they signed him.
Right? Yeah.
It's interesting. Chaim Bloom was, as you know, is known as someone who, generally speaking, is really careful, and he doesn't want to make a trade unless he gets, essentially wins the trade. So the idea that his one major investment besides the Rafael Devers contract that he made in his time was Trevor Story was head scratching to people around baseball, because there were just so many questions about Trevor Story's elbow. And you and I have talked about this, that in the summer before the Red Sox signed him, his velocity was down and how he was throwing. People were speculating he was going to need a major, elbow operation at some point. And the Red Sox plowed ahead and did it anyway. And so now they're left with a player, about whom there's so many questions about whether or not he can hit outside of Coors Field. What the numbers you laid out are the same numbers that people with other teams have been asking, or been holding up and examining for years. And I think that's why people around the game were surprised that Story was the guy that the Red Sox settled on.
Buster, for years, really, it seemed like a foregone conclusion that Shohei Ohtani was going to sign with a team on the West Coast, and you had alluded to maybe the Texas Rangers being involved as well, but certainly nothing further east than that. Jeff Passan, now I have heard him twice say he thinks the Red Sox are going to be real players for Ohtani. He didn't say they're going to get them, but he said they're going to be real players for him. What do you think the Red Sox now have to offer that we never thought they were players before?
It's totally confusing to me. And if in fact they were to go hard after Ohtani, it would be another case of the Red Sox ownership zigging and zagging, right? We've seen them do this so much during John Henry's ownership tenure, where it feels like they're on one track and then they say, yeah, that's not going to work. We don't like the Theo Epstein track, so we're going to move on and we're going to go with Ben Cherington. Well, you know what? We don't like the Ben Cherington track of player development, even though we won a World Series. So we're going to go with the, spend heavily track. We're going to get Dave Dombrowski. And, well, you know what? We don't really like that. So then we're going to go all in with the Tampa Bay plan with Chaim Bloom. it's crazy to think that a team that just 3 years ago wouldn't give Mookie Betts the contract that would have been required to keep him would then talk about going and spending maybe twice as much money. Look, I've heard some of and read certainly some of the Red Sox smoke signals that, maybe they're going to go after Ohtani. I kind of wonder if it's PR.
Buster, I'll get you out of here. Well, I'll get you the last Red Sox question before we go to kind of everything else. This is not a report. This was just a desire that Tom Caron voiced to us yesterday. So we had TC on the show and kind of did some of this Red Sox stuff with him as well. Kim Ng is the general manager of the Miami Marlins. They are now eliminated. Her contract is up in Miami. TC would love to see the Red Sox go after Kim Ng to be their next head of baseball operations. Do you think there's any possible connection there, or is Miami going to work really hard to try to retain her?
Well, as a free agent, I think absolutely. There's been a lot of talk that, for a time mid-season, there was talk that Kim was not going to be retained at the end of the contract. And then more recently, I've heard the question, whether or not Kim actually wants to stay. I talked to her the other day on the field before the Marlins game in Philadelphia and mentioned that to her. And she just looked at me and smiled. I mean, I'm sure that she's an excellent poker player.
Yep.
I think that she's someone who demonstrated in her time with the Marlins that she certainly can run a franchise in terms of making the right choices for baseball operations, making the right trades at the right time. My question about Kim going to Boston would be, is that necessarily something that she would want? Is that or should she be more like Billy Beane when Billy Beane turned down the Red Sox and turned down the opportunity to jump from Oakland to Boston because he just felt like, that's not necessarily something that I'm looking to do right now.
Buster, I haven't filled the audience in on this, but I will after you get off, but I know that you know what I'm talking about. So Mariners president of baseball operations, Jerry DiPoto, made waves earlier this week when he said a bunch of things about creating sustainability for the organization rather than trying to go out and win the World Series. We heard Chaim Bloom say a lot of similar things about trying to create sustainable winners in Boston. Have we as a fan base, have executives in baseball become kind of paralyzed by this idea of trying to create a lot of really good teams instead of trying to win the World Series, actually?
Well, it's interesting because I mean, I'll back up. Cal Raleigh, with his comments last weekend after the Mariners got knocked out, he talked about how, and he essentially was talking about the Texas Rangers, across the field, spending the money you need to spend,
yep.
Making the moves you want to make. And as I read what he had said, my first thought was, well, wait a second. It was a year ago that the Mariners traded for the most coveted pitcher in the marketplace in Luis Castillo.
Yep.
Last winter, they traded for Teoscar Hernandez of the Toronto Blue Jays. So it's not like they're not trying. I had this conversation with Eduardo Perez, recently, my colleague at ESPN, and we talked about how it feels more and more like there's an entitlement developing among players where there's a feeling of, this is what I feel like I want right now in this moment. And I don't know why that's developing now. Maybe it's just a generational thing, but it's a little bit surprising. And certainly Jerry's explanation for what explanation for what the Mariners did was not eloquent. He's come out and said, boy, did I not explain myself very well. I do think that players, more and more, I'm seeing times when, like with the Chicago White Sox, when players are complaining and not taking responsibility. That's my view on it. I do think that there's some teams that as you and I have talked about many times, that tank, that don't try to win. But you know what? A lot of teams do try to win. I think the Mariners in the last year, they have tried to win.
And they went out and signed Robbie Ray as well for $110 million.
Exactly.
It's not his fault that he got hurt, but we're talking with Buster Olney of ESPN, our MLB insider here on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV. It's interesting, Buster. about 4 months ago, the Boston Celtics were beaten in the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA. And I asked you, have you ever seen a baseball team that's gotten so close and never quite been able to get over the hump? And you mentioned on that day, you said the Celtics kind of remind me of the Toronto Blue Jays, a really talented team that just hasn't been able to get over the hump. I heard you earlier today say on ESPN, you think the Blue Jays might start to blow up this core that hasn't been able to get it done. Do you think they really might trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr.?
I think it's something that they now need to consider. And look, I haven't heard that directly from anyone within the Blue Jays organization. That's what they're going to do. But folks with other teams are looking at the trajectory of the team. They're looking at the recent performance of Vlad Jr. They're looking at his salary situation. $14 million he's making this year. Naturally, through arbitration, he's going to go up to $17 to $20 million this winter. And you know what? We've seen the Dodgers move past Cody Bellinger under similar circumstances. We hear the Mets talking about Pete Alonso. What do you do with him? I think that this is just naturally going to be a time when you're going to consider that because it ain't working. Like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has not been as good as what everyone expected. A couple of years ago when he finished second in the American League MVP race, he hasn't developed. He's not a good defender, and he's becoming more expensive. And on top of that, I think there's a perception among players within that organization that, speaking of entitlement, that the players there, for some reason, there's a layer of accountability that's not there. And maybe they're going to need to change some names.
Can anybody beat the Braves, Buster?
Oh, yes. Before the playoffs started, I picked the Phillies, and I got to say, having spent the last 2 days around the Phillies, they're the team to beat to me.
Wow.
Because their pitching is in so much better position than where the Braves are as we start the postseason. Spencer Strider, is a Cy Young finalist in my mind, but he kind of eroded down the stretch a little bit, and they're working on some adjustments with him. Max Fried has had this injury issue late in the season. Charlie Morton, an injury issue. Their bullpen has been hit around. They don't really have lockdown guys in that bullpen. Where on the other hand, and I just saw the Phillies for 2 days, man, that pitching staff is better than it was last year. It's in better shape. The staff has been well rested because of choices made by the coaching staff in the last 2 months, giving the starters an extra day of rest. They look formidable. This will be an epic 5-game series. It's probably, for me, going to be the best series in the entire postseason. It might involve the two best teams in baseball right now.
Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna, Yordan Alvarez. Who's the most feared hitter in these playoffs?
Wow. Feared hitter. Boy, oh boy. Depends on the situation. If there were runners on base, let's say the base is loaded and there's one out, I think it's Freddie Freeman.
Okay.
Freddie Freeman's going to hit a line drive. Freddie Freeman's going to put the ball in play. Bryce Harper, you could probably go for a strikeout. I think increasingly Acuna is getting into the Freddie Freeman category because he's done such a great job of putting the ball in play. And if you're looking for a power shot among that group, probably Bryce and Ronald Acuna Jr.
All right, there you go. Buster, we appreciate your time as always. I know it's been a long travel day for you. Enjoy Montana for a couple of days, and I know you'll be back east again over the weekend. We'll catch up again in 7 days, talking more about the Major League Baseball playoffs. Thanks as always.
Thanks, Brady.
There goes Buster Olney, our ESPN MLB insider, with us live from either I couldn't tell if he was in Minneapolis still on his way to Montana, or if he's actually made it back to Montana at this point, but that's where Buster is based these days. So there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack about the Red Sox. There's a lot to unpack about baseball at large. So what I want to do is I want to step aside. I want to get the national news update from CBS News. I want to come back. I want to react to what Buster had to say. I want to take some text on it because this idea of sustainability and almost like the fan bases are being kind of brainwashed is very, very interesting to me. And I'll tell you exactly what kind of precipitated the question. So we'll do that. Then I got some stuff from Drew Holiday and the Celtics at his intro press conference yesterday. There's one thing Drew Holiday said that I absolutely love. And I bet Danny, as a Celtics fan, loves it also. We'll talk about all of it on the Brady Farkas Show next after CBS News here on WDEV, AM and FM, at WDEVradio.com.
This is WDEV. Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top at Sugarbush at 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield. In Barrie at 96.5. In Montpelier at 98.3. Along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury, Montpelier. Streaming at WDEVradio.com. 92 years of serving Vermont. The friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. A surprise 180 from the Biden administration today, which will allow construction to continue on the southern border wall in Texas. It comes as Border Patrol deals with a new surge of migrants at the border. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's in Mexico.
The scale of this challenge demands that we redouble our efforts, that we do more to improve and modernize border security, that we do more to increase legal migration pathways and protections, more to address root causes, and more to deter irregular migration.
The U.S. has apprehended more than 200,000 migrants trying to cross the border illegally so far this year. President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are among those honoring longtime California Senator Dianne Feinstein today at her funeral in San Francisco. Mayor London Breed.
Millions of girls my age and long after me have grown blissfully free of the yokes our grandmothers wore because Dianne Feinstein wrestled them off, because she showed the way.
Feinstein was the city's first female mayor before starting her groundbreaking career in Congress. Capitol Hill could get a surprise visitor next week as House Republicans scramble to find a new speaker. CBS's Scott McFarland.
There are reports, including from some members of Congress's social media feeds, that Donald Trump's considering to be part of this Tuesday candidates forum House Republicans are having. And I talked to one close ally of Steve Scalise who told me in a pretty muted phrase, yeah, I don't think that's going to be helpful.
It would be Trump's first visit there since January 6th. The United Nations has condemned Russia's missile attack today on a cafe and grocery store in a village in Ukraine. Spokesman Stefan Dujarric.
Attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure are prohibited under international humanitarian law, and they must stop immediately.
More than 50 people were killed. Not as many people going to church these days.
1 in 3 Americans now say they are non-religious, and they don't care for organized religion. That's the finding of a survey by the Associated Press.
It's a very good possibility the next 30 or 40 years there will be more non-religious Americans than there will be Christians in the United States for the first time in American history.
Eastern Illinois University political science professor Ryan Burge has written a book on the increasing number of Americans who have given up on organized religion. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
The world set a heat record after sweating out September. The average temperature last month, nearly 2 degrees hotter for this time of year. It was the warmest month in 83 years. Climate experts say it's a death sentence. This is CBS News.
You need to hire? Indeed is with you every step of the way, helping you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Listen to the 48 Hours podcast for shocking murder cases and compelling real-life dramas from one of television's most watched true crime shows. Go behind the scenes of each episode with award-winning CBS News correspondents and producers in Postmortem, a weekly deep dive. Listen to 48 Hours wherever you get your podcasts.
Hustle up. We've got 8 more floors to go before lunch.
Sarusha's window washing business is reaching new heights.
Wipe, and let's roll.
They need more certified cleaners to keep online reviews crystal clear.
Team, I know we're hustling, but watch for streaks. Candace, can you give me a hand over here?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates, and you can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
A rising political star in Texas is talking about her mental health.
There's a lot of stigma around mental health, and that's part of why I want to share this.
Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo returned to work this week after a 2-month medical leave for treatment of clinical depression. She tells CBS News she wants to be open about what she went through.
The goal is for folks to see it as no different than a politician who suffers from high blood pressure, which I don't have, or has had a heart attack.
This comes amid calls for her removal from office and lawsuit from 5 residents who say she exercised gross carelessness by taking that leave. Hidalgo says she had to be honest with herself to get treatment.
You really have to change your mindset, and you have to be very vulnerable.
Steve Kathan, CBS News.
More than a year after her death, Australia is finally flipping its coins from images of Queen Elizabeth to King Charles. About 10 million gold dollar coins will be minted by Christmas. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show. We're here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Thanks to Buster Olney for stopping by. You can find that interview shortly after the show on the podcast channel, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. Alisa Kresge, UVM women's basketball coach, is going to stop by. That's coming up about 6:40. We're going to get to Buster Olney in a second. I need a little advice from the people. On the text line, 802-585-3026. If you're out there and you have a solution for me, I need to know it. I need to know what can be done to stop from snoring. Not to stop snoring entirely, right? But I definitely snore. I definitely snore loudly. I'll wake myself up from snoring loudly. I definitely wake Jess up from snoring loudly, and I would like to stop doing that. So if anybody has any tips, tricks, remedies, equipment, I'm willing to look into it. The one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to go get tested for something. I don't want to be doing sleep studies. I don't have sleep apnea. I don't want to do any of that. So if you've got some kind of nasal strip, some kind of herbal tea, some kind of sleeping position, something that can help me not snore really loud and quite constantly, I'm willing to listen. Okay? I'm willing to listen. Again, I don't want to go places. I don't want to go to doctor's offices. I don't want to get tested. And I prefer to not be wearing giant headgear all night. But I'm willing to listen to whatever suggestions you have out there that don't involve going to a place. Danny, are you a snorer?
I don't think I snore too loud.
I think we're all snorers a little bit, but
Right.
I definitely think that I am above and beyond. I'm willing to admit that I'm above and beyond the normal here. But if someone out there has got a suggestion.
Have you tried anything?
I tried a Breathe Right strip.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I tried that. That did nothing. So I don't even know how that thing is supposed to work. But
I don't either.
It didn't work. I mean, I'll see NFL players wearing them. It was really a thing that was popular, NFL players in the 90s, especially bigger defensive linemen. I think Neil Smith, who played for the Chiefs back in the 90s, was really good. I would see these guys wearing Breathe Right strips, and I would have no idea what they were. Now I know what they are. It didn't do anything for me. So that did nothing. So if it's some kind of strip, it's going to need to be bigger or better than the usual Breathe Right strip. But again, I'm willing to try things. I'm willing to go to a store and buy something. I'm not willing to go to a doctor's office. So 802-585-3026. A lot of good stuff from Buster. And look, we're going to talk about the Red Sox a lot this offseason. So this is not the last we'll talk about them with Buster. But kind of putting a bow on what Buster said, 3 things really stood out to me. One is he's got the same questions about Trevor Story as I do. And I think those are real questions, right? 2 is about Kim Ng. It doesn't sound like he's real. Not that he's not high on her as an executive. He's not real high on the idea of her wanting to come to Boston. And then 3 was this idea of sustainability, which I'm going to talk about in a second. The Trevor Story concerns, I think, are real. I'm not saying that Trevor Story is bad, right? I don't think there's a world where Trevor Story is a bad baseball player. I think Trevor Story is going to be useful to the Red Sox in 2024, but I need more than useful. I believe he's got a 6-year, $140 million contract. I mean, we're talking about more than $20 million a year here, right? So if we're talking about more than $20 million a year, I need more than useful. I need star, or at least bordering on star, right? Trevor Story, I believe, if he's healthy for a full season, I believe he'll play good defense and he will absolutely solidify your defense at one of the up-the-middle spots, likely shortstop. So I think he solidifies your defense up the middle. And I think Trevor Story is a good base runner, right? He could always run. He could always steal bases. And now, given the rules around throwing over and stepping off at the bigger bases, it's become easier to steal bases. So I think Trevor Story steals 25 to 30 bases next year. Plays good defense, steals 25 to 30 bases. That is absolutely useful. But I need him to be a consistent presence at the plate, right? Because if he is, he changes the entire Red Sox lineup. If I look at the Red Sox next year, and we talked about how this year there were a lot of questions. There were a lot of uncertainties. Well, if next year I look at it and say, okay, Devers is a given for at least 25 and 100, maybe even 35 and 110. But if he is a given to be really good, okay, there's one. I think we're at the point where Casas is a given to be pretty good as well. 23 homers and 80 RBIs, it's pretty good. 23 and 85 with a good on-base percentage, it's pretty good. So I think we're at a point where Devers is a given, where Casas' production is a given, where I think Yoshida is certainly going to be productive, right? I think we need more than 15 homers from him next year, but if he's 20 homers and 85 RBIs, that's pretty darn good. And then if Story comes in and is that fourth piece, and maybe Turner's back, so now we're talking about 5 pieces, but if Story's there and he is 30 steals, good defense, 23 homers, 85, 90 RBIs, well, now you're talking about a lineup that is really deep, is really powerful, has the ability to run, and you pair that with Duran or Rafaela or Abreu or whoever else is there, plus what they do on the hopeful free agent or trade market. Now you're talking about a team that is able to kind of turn it around here, at least offensively, pretty darn quickly. But a lot of that hinges on Story. And Buster says, like, Brady, your questions and concerns are valid. Who is he outside of Coors Field? Right now, I don't know. Okay, he's a lifetime 303 hitter at Coors Field. Everywhere else where he's played with some kind of regularity, he's significantly lower than that. Right? He hit 203 this year in 46 games. And again, I get it. He was injured. He didn't have a spring training. He didn't have a normal offseason. So I'm willing to give him a pass. I do not believe that he is a 203 hitter over a full 162 with a normal offseason. But is he a 236 hitter? I need better than that. Is he a 242 hitter? I need better than that. I need Trevor Story to be at least hitting 275. And I don't know that outside of Coors Field that he has that in him. I don't know. So Buster's saying like that's a valid question to have. Number 2 from Buster is about Kim Ng. Kim Ng is the only female general manager in baseball. She's the general manager of the Marlins. She just took them, to the playoffs. Tom Caron says, I would love to see Kim Ng be the general manager, the chief baseball ops person in Boston. Buster makes it sound like, I don't know that she would want to come to Boston, right? He says, maybe she's like Billy Beane. Maybe she is somebody who likes the idea of being in a smaller market, maybe not the pressure of a bigger market. She's allowed to just do her thing and maneuver and have confidence of the front office. I don't know. That's a fair question for Buster to say. Kim Ng certainly has showed that she's qualified, right? She has gotten a team to the playoffs on a budget, right? Similar to kind of how Chaim Bloom was in Tampa. But she's done it at the general manager level. She has taken a team and navigated a team through a season, through the difficulties of a season. She's dealt with injuries and helped her team overcome them. So she certainly knows what she's doing. She'd be somebody I'm more than willing to give an interview to and more than willing to give a second interview to. Buster's not sure if she's going to want that kind of situation. It's fair. Not everybody does. And I wouldn't begrudge her if she does, right? Some people like to be a big fish in a small pond as opposed to a small fish in a big pond. Some people like to be a big fish in a small pond and not necessarily and have the confidence of the fan base and the team and the ownership group rather than come here and instantly be subjected to criticism and questioning. I don't know, but it's fair for Buster to ask that too. And the third thing is, and this is going to take a little bit of me giving a backstory to, is this idea that baseball has become paralyzed by the idea of sustainability. And let me back this up for a second. So the Mariners missed the playoffs, right? My Mariners missed the playoffs by one game. And at the end of the season press conference, Jerry DiPoto, who is the president of baseball operations for the Mariners, he said some things he shouldn't have said, right? He said some things that angered the fan base. And he has since apologized for them, and he has since said, I shouldn't have said that, and it came out wrong, and I didn't make my point eloquently. That's fine. Maybe he means it. But I think a lot of people in baseball feel like he does. And what he said was basically like, I know the fans want to win the World Series, but we're doing a good job at giving them a sustainably good product, right? Like, we have made the Mariners watchable for 4 years. So no, we haven't won the World Series, but you should be grateful that we're always in it as opposed to being really bad. That's essentially what he said. And as a Mariners fan, I rolled my eyes, right? I do get it. I like the idea of my team being relevant every year. I do. But the idea of being relevant is supposed to also lead to the idea of winning the World Series. And I read multiple people say that Jerry DiPoto is not the only one who feels this way, that this is not the only organization that operates this way. And I started thinking about the Red Sox, because that word sustainability is something we heard a lot from Chaim Bloom. And I'm trying to figure out if we as fans have been brainwashed by our executives and by our teams into thinking that just being relevant or just being good enough is good enough. At the end of the day, the goal is to win the World Series. And I get what Chaim Bloom is saying, and I get what Jerry DiPoto is saying, right? It is I would rather have my team be good every year than bad every year. I would rather my team make smart decisions and not always sell out for maybe one ill-fated attempt to win, right? I want my team to be good every year and to have, multiple chances to be good, right? I like the idea of being the Atlanta Braves or the Houston Astros or a team that's in it every year. But you know what the Astros and the Braves have done? The Astros and the Braves have won the World Series. And that's what makes what they've done cool. The Astros have won 2 in the last decade. The Braves have won 1 in the last decade. And they very well possibly could win a second. So I want my teams, the Mariners for my personal life, but the Red Sox for my work life, I want these teams to remember that their goal is to win the World Series. Their goal is not to just to be close, just to be in it, just to be relevant. And we as fans should not be in a position to accept if the Red Sox, okay, good, you're good. You're good enough, right? The Mariners, you're good enough. You're close. Great. Get over the hump. And I want the executives to take the next step. Danny, that is why I respect what Brad Stevens has done, right? The Boston Celtics have given, you're a diehard Celtics fan. You're a bigger Celtics fan than I am. The Boston Celtics over the last 5 years have given you a lot of great basketball to watch. They've been good. They've been to the playoffs. They've had winning records. They've gotten the number 1 seed. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been to the NBA Finals. I think you as a Celtics fan are largely probably happy with the product they've given you. But Brad Stevens is saying, okay, you know what? That's not good enough now. We need to find a way to get over the hump to make the ultimate memory, which is winning the NBA Finals. And there's too many teams, it seems like, that are okay just being in contention enough to make you excited about a season. And I don't want our executives and our team owners and our front offices, I don't want them to feed us these lines of garbage about how, hey, we want to win. But at the end of the day, no, you don't. You're really just happy being close. So I was taken aback when he said that the other day about the Mariners. And then I was thinking about Chaim Bloom, who shelled out that word sustainability over and over and over again. I want the Red Sox sustainably good. I want them good over and over again. There is something to the idea of a healthy organization, and a healthy organization leads you to multiple bites at the apple. And multiple bites at the apple is fun, and it's good, and it gives you a better chance to win a title. But just having the bites at the apple are not good enough. You have to try to win. And that's what the Mariners need to do, and that's what the Red Sox need to do, and that's what the Celtics have done. So I want us as fans to not let ownership groups and let front offices tell us that just being close is good enough. I mean, Danny, right? I have to imagine you're generally happy with what the Celtics have done over the last 5 years, but none of it's going to matter a whole lot if they don't win the title at some point, right?
No, but I appreciate Wake Grossbeck there, actually willing to go into the text and saying this is what it takes to win.
I mean, and I do as well. So again, I don't know that what the Celtics have done is going to work. I don't, right? There's no way for
they don't either. But
right. There's no way for us to predict here on October 5th if the Celtics are going to win the NBA championship, right? I don't know. Someone could get injured. Someone else on another team could really develop. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I believe the Celtics are doing what they can to not settle. And I think too many teams are settling. And that's discouraging. For the Mariners president to sit there and say the other day, like, hey, fans, we're doing a good job at giving you something interesting to watch every year. That's great. That, you know what? That is better than when the team was going 72-90 every season. That's better when they were going 60-102. I've lived through those years. 88-74 was a lot better than 72-90. But you know where they both ended up? In the same place, not the playoffs and not a World Series. And for me, the Mariners are the only team in baseball to not ever get to the World Series. Forget winning it. They've never even been there. So that we are the wrong fan base to be preaching this like patience gospel with. But for the Red Sox, for the Celtics, for these other teams in our area, the executives have to do what they can to win. Yes, sustainable winners and constant relevance is better than being garbage. But you know what's better than that? Winning the whole damn thing. And I hope people recognize that. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM at WDEVradio.com. Danny, sticking with the Celtics. Drew Holiday had his intro press conference yesterday at TD Garden. And he said something that I absolutely love. And I think you probably are going to love it too. But he was asked a question about, how excited is he to play with the two Jays, right? With Jason Tatum and with Jaylen Brown. He was asked what it's going to be like to play with those two, how excited is he, et cetera. This is the answer he gave that I absolutely love.
Honestly, I want to make the game easier for him. I know that I am a threat offensively. I know that I do love to pass and really be that type of player, but I can also be aggressive offensively too. Not only that, defensively, I feel like I'm pretty good. There might be times where Jalen's picking up full court and he's using so much energy defensively. I can take that over.
Danny, play the first 3 seconds of that one more time. Just the first 3 seconds.
Honestly, I want to make the game easier for him.
I want to make the game easier for them. That is what I love to hear, right? And I'm not saying anything negative about Marcus Smart here because I love Marcus Smart also. But what Drew Holiday just gave you is what the Celtics have needed. They have needed a point guard and a player that is willing to get everybody else involved all the time, right? It's why Rajon Rondo works so well here, right? Rajon Rondo didn't need to score. And so much now in the NBA, right? The NBA has become all about offense. Until the playoffs is about defense, the regular season is about offense. Everybody on your NBA team needs to be able to score. There are very few situations in the NBA where we're good with a guy who can't score. Okay, we used to have the Bruce Bowen types. Those guys don't really exist anymore. Everybody has to score. So your point guard now has become a guy. It used to be about getting 10 assists. We didn't care if you scored. That's what Rondo was. Now it's about, can your point guard also get you 25? I don't necessarily need that. I like when my point guard could give me 25, but I also like when my point guard just plays point guard. And that's what Drew Holiday is saying. That's what I'm looking to do, man. I'm looking to get other guys involved. I'm looking to make their jobs easier. And that can come in a lot of different ways, right? Maybe one day Jason Tatum's getting doubled. He's really getting locked up, and he's having a hard time getting a shot off, or his shot's not falling. Drew Holiday's like, look, okay, you're not scoring 40 tonight. I'll come out and get 18. Okay? They're going to focus on you. I'll get 18. Right? I will make your job easier today because I will put on the scoring load. Or Drew Holiday is saying, look, we've got a matchup we can exploit. I will put you in the best possible position for you to exploit that matchup so you can get your points. Hey, Jaylen Brown, you've had to play high-level defense over the last couple of years. Let me play the high-level defense, and now you can go out and get in transition. Now you can go out and be better offensively. Now you can get a slightly easier matchup defensively. I think it's that kind of selflessness that the Celtics need. And again, this is not anti-Marcus Smart because I like Marcus Smart, but I do think Marcus Smart, he wanted to score. He wanted to get his. He wanted to electrify the crowd. He wanted to pull up and shoot threes, and that's a lot of the stuff that people bagged on him for. I'm not seeing or hearing that from Jrue Holiday 24 hours into his Celtics tenure, and that's all I can really go on. Is a guy who wants to make the job of the stars easier. He wants to make the job easier offensively. He wants to make the job easier defensively. And frankly, I think it's going to be big ball handling as well. Jaylen Brown is not a great ball handler. For $300 million, Jaylen Brown should be a better ball handler. He's not. But now Jrue Holiday can be the guy who handles the ball a lot of the time. Derek White can handle the ball a lot of the time. Peyton Pritchard can handle the ball when he's in. Jaylen Brown doesn't have to necessarily be the point guard bringing the ball up the floor all the time. I love what I heard there from Holiday. He said all the right things. He said, I want to make the job easier for them. He mentioned being able to play defense. He talked all about Boston's history and the championships, etc. He said, this was the best place for me to win. This is where I wanted to go. This was on my short list. Look, I'm a sucker for press conferences. I'm a sucker for a guy who says the right thing. You've got to show more than tell. I understand that. I'm always a sucker for the tell, but I've seen Jrue Holiday play enough in his career that I believe where he's coming from is genuine. And I believe he's going to do what he says he is. I mean, Danny, are you as excited as I am? Are you falling for the lip service as much as I am?
Jrue has proven over his career that he knows how to, fill a role. So last year he had to fill a bigger role because Chris Middleton was hurt, so he was the number 2. But he's ready to come in here and be their 4th best player and contribute in that way. So that's a really good thing.
4th best player. Oh, that's right. Porzingis also. Yeah, putting Porzingis in. Well, yeah, that clip was specifically about the Jays, but yeah, Porzingis is good as well. Putting Porzingis in a spot where he can get him the ball in the post, or he can get him the ball in the mid post and let Porzingis go to work. And he's played with Giannis. He knows how to make a big man a focal point if that's what the game calls for. I think Jrue Holiday is going to be a great fit in Boston. I think he is going to be a great fit. It's the Brady Farkas Show. WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Alisa Kresge, the UVM women's basketball coach, is going to be with us at about 6:40. Before we get to her, the Patriots are in a spot that I feared they would be. I'll tell you what that spot is. That's next on DEV.
The sock sale is back. It's mid-October, and that means one thing and one thing only. Sock sale, called the 13th wonder of the world. The annual Cabot Hosiery Mill sock sale is back, bigger and better than ever. The 41st annual Cabot Hosiery Mill sock sale is Saturday and Sunday, October 21st and 22nd and 28th and 29th from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Nantana Mill in Northfield, Vermont. As always, we'll have more socks than you can shake a stick at. Cold weather hunting socks, run, hike, ski, and snowboard socks, merino wool and cool max, novelty and holiday patterns, real military surplus socks, and plus sizes for the hardiest of feet. Everything you love about our socks, plenty of them, all at the Nantana Mill in Northfield, Vermont. 10% off any purchase over $100. Don't miss this sale. Saturday and Sunday, October 21st and 22nd and 28th and 29th from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Nantana Mill in Northfield, Vermont. Plenty of parking and tent coverage for rain or snow. This is Rick Cabbage for Cabot Hosiery Mills, and we absolutely positively feel the best thing you can do for you, your feet, your family, and friends is to buy socks from the 13th wonder of the world at the sock capital of the world, the Cabot Hosiery Mills annual sock sale. Don't miss it.
I'm not exaggerating when I say this. QC Kinetics can change your life. You can live again without that chronic joint pain and without drugs or surgery. QC Kinetics is advanced regenerative medicine. They take your body's own concentrated healing properties and put them right into your joint to restore and repair that damaged tissue that's causing all of that horrible pain. The patient satisfaction reports are astonishing. Finally, a real alternative to the old ways of dealing with pain. And unlike surgery, there's no downtime with QC treatments. If you have constant pain in your knees, hips, shoulder, or back, find out how the medical professionals at QC Kinetics can bring you lasting relief. Now's the best time to get started. Call 802-PAINLESS to reach the QC Kinetics office in Colchester. That's 802-PAINLESS, 802-PAINLESS.
treatments are not yet FDA approved.
Hey, it's Charlie Papillo. Join me on the next Travels with Charlie. Rick Norcross fills us in on the CD release party of God Bless the Mighty Pickle. Plus, we'll hear a couple of cuts off the new CD. And in our series Vermont Grown, we'll talk with Phil Murdoch from Chapin Orchards about this year's apple crop and more. Can you say apple cider donuts? Travels with Charlie is brought to you by Casella Waste Systems, Jolly Convenience Stores, Milne Travel, and Myers Wood-Fired Bagels. I'll see you in my travels Monday at 1 right here on WDEV.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
As Vermonters, we know that so much depends on the weather. When you need a reliable local weather forecast, it's literally at your fingertips with the WDEV weather phone. Locally dial 244-1172 or toll free at 1-800-585-1211. Roger Hill's weather forecast is just a phone call away on the WDEV weather phone, 244-1172 or 1-800-585-1211.
Vermonters know they can depend on WDEV day to day and in times of crisis. Paul Costello expresses his thoughts on the importance of WDEV.
WDEV, you guys stand for something, and you're like the heart and soul of community radio, and I love that, but, you really all have stepped up in such a great way.
WDEV, in service to the community for 92 years. FM 96.1 and AM 550. Streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We're talking about sustainability and franchises and relevancy and going for it, being all in, etc. Let me tell you, I told you this months ago how the New England Patriots were perceived nationally, and everyone else is starting to realize it now. Did you hear what Chris Canty said earlier today? Chris Canty, former NFL defensive lineman, played with the Giants and the Cowboys, I believe, maybe one other team, but definitely with the Giants and the Cowboys. He was talking earlier today on ESPN Radio about the state of the New England Patriots. Listen to this, because this is what people think of the Patriots right now nationally.
The one thing as a franchise, or one place you would hate to be is irrelevant. That's where I see like New England right now. New England, proud franchise. Obviously, we could go over all the accolades, but let's be honest. New England is irrelevant right now. And the reason that they're irrelevant, obviously, you don't have Tom Brady. The quarterback position, Mac Jones, is not playing well at all. Some of it is not because of him. He's playing behind a bad offensive line. And I think the biggest thing that I have to speak on is the coach, who's also the GM, has been shopping for bad groceries.
Okay, that's Damian Woody, not Chris Canty. My bad. But yeah, Damian Woody, who used to play for the Patriots. So that's what people think nationally of the Patriots, though. They think they are irrelevant. And that is not a spot that you want to be. Because I want the New England Patriots competing for championships. I want the New England Patriots competing for AFC titles every year. And they are so far away from that team now that other people in the media with a national perception, they don't even register for them anymore. And how sad is that? And how far the Patriots have fallen. And you know what? It's not just that Tom Brady's not there. It's not. Okay. Yes. Tom Brady not being there and not having a star at quarterback, that matters to a degree. But you know what? The Minnesota Vikings last year, they don't have a star at quarterback. They were plenty relevant, right? They won 13 games. There's plenty of relevance in that. You're not irrelevant. The Cincinnati Bengals were irrelevant forever. Start winning some games, relevant. Okay? The Carolina Panthers, if they were good, they'd be relevant. The New England Patriots are irrelevant. That is what people think. And that is why I hate where the Patriots are at. I absolutely hate where they are an afterthought to people around football. Okay? Their record is bad. Their product is not very good. It hasn't been very good. And for the last 4 years, they're under 5. Since Tom Brady left, they're under 500. They're under 500. And when you are under 500 for 3+ years running, you are irrelevant in the NFL. And you know what else is sad? Is that the NFL is the one sport that you can turn it around quickly in. You can go from terrible to great and back every single year. And the Patriots haven't figured out a way or have been unwilling to do what's necessary to take that jump again. Right? The Jacksonville Jaguars were picking number 1 in the draft and then made the playoffs last year. Right? In 1 year, they went from number 1 in the draft to making the playoffs. Every year we have a story where some team went worst to first. Right? The Seahawks went from, I want to say they were 3rd in the division in 2021. They made the playoffs last year. Okay, every year we see this where somebody goes from bad to excellent. And the Patriots have not been able to figure it out, and they've just been stuck in the middle ground. And when you are in the middle ground, you are irrelevant. And this is why I'm so frustrated with this team. It shouldn't be this difficult. The NFL is built for you to turn it around quickly, right? It's hard to turn it around in the NBA. It's really hard to turn it around in Major League Baseball. It's not that difficult to turn it around in the NFL. But the Patriots have not figured it out yet. And as a result, we're staring down the barrel of a 1-4 start. And if you go 1-4, your season is over. And we're going to be talking a lot more Celtics basketball over the next several months. I'm going to have to talk Bruins hockey over the next several months if the Patriots start 1-4. And I don't want to live in that world. I have never been here where the Patriots season was over by October 10th. And that's where we're headed for if they lose this week. They are an afterthought. And the fact that they have become that is incredibly frustrating to me and incredibly embarrassing to me. Okay, incredibly frustrating, incredibly embarrassing. I hate that that's where they're at right now. And I mean, this is going to be a tough matchup for them. This is not going to be a layup. The Saints are, I mean, I get it. The Saints are also kind of an average team, but they're going to have Alvin Kamara playing here, and that's going to make a big difference, right? Kamara played last week, but he's really going to be in the game plan this week. The Saints, I look at them right now. They're in the NFC South, and they are sitting here at 2-2 overall. So they have more wins than the Patriots. They're playing to get over 500. They're going to have Kamara there. And by the way, they came in here and kicked your can around a couple of years ago in Mac Jones' rookie year. So this is not going to be a layup. This is going to be a tough game for them. And it can have some real serious consequences if they go to 1-4. If they go to 1-4, they're going to fall to even further into irrelevancy. And I can't believe that that's where we're at right now. I can't believe that that's where we're at. I got a lot of Patriots stuff still to get to. We're going to end up doing a lot of that tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to have Phil Perry, our Pats insider at NBC Sports Boston, with us. We're going to talk about all the games in our 6-pack of NFL questions. Really interesting stuff on Mac Jones, on J.C. Jackson. So there's a lot of Pat stuff we'll get back into tomorrow. Now, I want to kick it back to the local side of things. Alisa Kresge, the UVM women's basketball coach, is going to join us next. How are the first days of practice going? Alisa Kresge going to be with us next here in the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Vermont's most innovative companies will be at the Vermont Tech Jam, powered by 7 Days on Saturday, October 21st at Hula in Burlington. Looking for work? At the Tech Jam, you'll meet recruiters face-to-face. Beta Technologies will be there, and Marvell, Core Power, VIP, Data Innovations, and National Life, too. Put on some real pants, step away from your remote desk, and step onto Hula's Lakeside Tech campus. Want to be inspired? Learn about lab-grown meat. Hear from Dr. Rachel Floriani and Irfan Tahir, 2 University of Vermont researchers who explain how they help grow cell-cultured meat. Should Vermont embrace cellular agriculture? To register for the Vermont Tech Jam presented by Hula and Marvell on Saturday, October 21st, visit techjamvt.com. That's techjamvt.com.
Marvin windows are designed for unprecedented performance and exceptional aesthetics.
Marvin's expansive window portfolio has every style you can imagine, all of them crafted with the highest quality material and the ability to mix and match across product lines that allows you to achieve the right form and function for your residential, commercial, and replacement needs. See our Marvin specialist at Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber in Middlesex, St. Albans, Enosburg, Swanton, and Derby, or online at sticksandstuff.com.
Tracy Schamberger describes her experience advertising with WDEV.
When WDEV presented Age Well with an opportunity to co-present a weekly live interview, we jumped at the opportunity. We see a direct increase in calls to our helpline because of our spot on WDEV, which is exactly what we had hoped for. We have experienced incredible results.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
Hi, this is Kathy. And this is Kate from the Stowe Street Emporium in Waterbury, where the colorful fall season has begun. Autumn florals, gourds, and pumpkins decorate the store with anticipation of colder weather and warm attire. Our amazing assortment of cozy sweaters and plaid jackets will keep you warm during soccer games and foliage walks. Hydrate your skin with Ursa Major skincare products that will soothe and nourish you just in time for cooler temps.
Create your harvest table with our table runners, tablecloths, complimentary decor, and aromatic candles. Our food pantry is stocked with yummy sauces, jams, seasoning blends, and whipped and hot honey that will enhance any feast.
Witch water lanterns, spider lights, gnomes disguised as vampires, and blinking skeleton hats are now on display, spooking our customers along with other haunting Halloween decor.
Fall in love with the Stowe Street Emporium, a shop that is sure to delight. We are open daily Monday to Saturday, 11 to 5, and Sunday, 11 to 3. So see you soon at 23 Stowe Street in historic downtown Waterbury.
The world is a constantly changing place, and being informed has never been more important. This is Steve Kathan. WDEV, Vermont's news station, and CBS provide you with up-to-the-minute news and information. Whether it's top and bottom of the hour news, breaking news, or special events, if Vermonters need to know, you can trust that WDEV and CBS will inform you. WDEV, keeping an eye on Vermont, while CBS keeps an eye on the world.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome in, Brady Farkas Show, WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Texter says, even my Colts are better than the Patriots. They might be. We're going to find out when these two teams go to Germany in a couple of weeks. I mean, imagine that. The Colts and the Patriots in Germany, both teams have the potential to be like 3-7 by the time that happens. So, yeah, it's going to be, that game is in, I don't think it's in Berlin. I don't have Hamburg. I don't have my German cities down, but they're playing in Germany against the Colts. I just don't remember what city it is. But there's two games. The Chiefs are playing one of the Germany games. The Patriots are playing one of the Germany games as well, and the Pats are playing against the Colts. And I know it's later in the season, week 10 or 11 or so. I can't even think that far ahead right now. All I can think about is the Patriots trying to avoid going to 1-4. A team that I have higher expectations for is a local squad, the UVM women's basketball team. Catamounts are in the gym right now. Practice started last week. Cats got to the America East final last year and won it on home floor against Albany last year, and they went to the NCAA tournament, got a 16 seed, lost against UConn, but it was a great year for the program. And joining us now is the head coach of the Catamounts, the architect of it all, Alisa Kresge. Coach, good to catch up with you again. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Can't believe we're back here.
I can't believe we're back. And here we are, 28 days or so from your first time going to be on the court, the preseason opener against St. Mike's. 4 weeks, not a lot of time.
Yeah. Some players are ready and hungry. They want to play games last week, and we need time. So I'm going to embrace these 4 weeks, but I know our players are hungry and excited to get back on the court and play somebody else.
I want to talk about some of the logistical stuff with the schedule, things like that, but let's just kind of start out with what's the vibe right now around the program? Practice started last week or so. You guys are coming off an America East title. What's the vibe right now around the squad?
A lot of energy. To the point I'm actually trying to calm them down a little. There's a lot of good energy. They're working really hard. They're hungry to get out there and play somebody else, honestly, right now, because summer we play a lot of each other. But excited to see what this group can do because it is a new group.
Experience, I would say, is probably this team's greatest strength right now, right? A lot of upperclassmen on this roster. Aside from that, what does this team do well?
Yeah, I think they're very intelligent at understanding what we do, what makes us who we are. So being really bought into the little details. And I think that comes with experience. I feel like I'm not really answering your question, but I do feel like with that experience, we know our rules, we know where the bar is set, and how to challenge ourselves to show up and take advantage of the little things that we know are going to be important for the long haul.
Catherine Gilwey is going to be out for the year. We know that. It's a big loss for your point guard group, big loss for your team. I'm sure the answer of how to replace her is not had yet here in early October, but how is the process going of coming up with some answers right now?
Yeah, I think it is going to be a little bit of by committee. Everyone's asking, is Emma Utterback going to be your point guard? And, I think the tough thing about that is she's capable. She's capable to do anything for our team if it helps us win, and that's who she is. But I do think we have some other players on this roster that can really keep Emma where she is and doing what she does and helps us win, and take on some of that responsibility that Kat brought. So we have a couple of young people that we're excited about that are working really hard to try to fill some of what we lost with Kat being out this season.
Are we allowed to ask what the injury was? It came out as just lower body injury. Are we allowed to ask further than that?
Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to answer that.
Okay.
But if I was allowed to, I would share.
Okay. Well, I'll keep digging. We're talking with Alisa Kresge here. She's the UVM women's basketball coach here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. It's very interesting because when a team has a goal, it's all full steam ahead to get to that goal. But you've already accomplished the goal, right? The team now wants to go one step further than that goal, and that's get a higher seed in the NCAA tournament, win a game, whatever it may be. How do you keep this team focused, might be the wrong word, but process-oriented on caring about this regular season rather than just trying to fast forward to the end?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I do feel like we're sensing a little bit of that, even in the summer, of like we want to win 30 games already to get there, but we have a lot of work to do. And I think it's the milestones that we put, those little benchmarks that we're going to put in place. And we've already discussed as a team and we've labeled them, and making sure that we hit those benchmarks. And those benchmarks are starting practice every day and then every game. So really just identifying the benchmarks and just focus on that and not the end goal. If we can hit these benchmarks along the way, we will be in a good place, or at least set ourselves up for a chance. But if we kind of put the cart before the horses, we're going to be in trouble.
How much does your own personal playing experience help, right? Because you've had the experience of getting to the NCAA tournament, kind of talking them through that. And then once you've won it, kind of coming back to do it a second time or repeat or put it behind you or whatever.
Yeah. I think what it told me is when I was on the back end of after winning a championship, we looked at ourselves and we kind of, in a way, told ourselves we're not very good. Like we put that chip on our shoulder, even though we were picked first and we had a lot of players back. Like we almost told each other the negative, which we've learned now to tell ourselves the positive. But we kind of made this chip. We made this like idea out there that we weren't good and people didn't think we were good, to create that fuel and that fire. And so it's really trying to get to know this group, which I think this group really feeds off of positive energy, but reminding them of what they were capable of and what they do want to do. And everyone's wired a little differently. So trying to figure out what message to each individual, but at the overall is we haven't done anything yet. This is a new team. Last year's team doesn't count. That's not going to win us games, but it will help us. It will help us with the learning curves, hopefully sooner rather than later.
I don't claim to be up on every other American women's basketball team's roster at this point in the offseason right now, but I would be hard-pressed to say that there is another team in the league that has a top 4 players better than your top 4 right now. But something you've spoken about over the last couple of years is really trying to create depth and get some more players, especially coming off the bench, to contribute and take some of the burden off of your starters. How is that process going and kind of finding that second wave of players?
Yeah, I think we're pretty excited about our depth. I think is going to be a little bit better. I think we have a couple players in that class that were first years last year that it's a learning year. And fortunately, they were able to learn in a good, healthy situation and not just thrown to the fire because we had this upperclassmen group. But I think they're really showing what a year under their belt and in our program has done wonders for them. So I'm really excited, especially about that first year group that are now sophomores. So that's going to be huge for us. I think we have some young ones that are just hungry and they're pretty talented. So I think that could help us as well.
Talk to me a little bit about the schedule. When we last spoke, it was like it had to have been the middle of June, and there was not one non-conference game on the schedule yet at that point. How did you go about filling the schedule? And it looks pretty good in the fact that I think there's 7 non-conference home games, not including the scrimmage. So it seems like it all worked out. But how stressful was that process this summer?
Yeah, it was pretty tough to try to get games solidified. Fortunately, we figured it out, but it is competitive. There's a handful of programs that were in the NCAA tournament last year, then top in their league. Everybody is in strong conferences. So it's going to be a challenge for sure. But I think it's the time for us to have that non-conference. That's the challenge. We just got to figure out how to navigate it. Obviously, we're trying to get better for American East play, and that's the end goal. So I think this non-conference slate is going to really challenge us, and we got to figure out how to navigate it as it goes. And hopefully it's successful in a lot of ways, and that might not necessarily be all wins.
One of the highlights of the schedule is going down to the Gulf Coast Showcase. You're going to open up in that tournament with North Carolina, one of the most respected programs on the women's side of things. How do you go about either picking your tournament or getting asked to a tournament? How does that work?
Yeah, I think for us, it was neutral site is important. I think that's a way to try to find a way to compete against some of these pretty impressive programs that have been historically really talented. But also multiple games, not just 2, I should say 3 games is always feels like you kind of get your money's worth. So that was a big thing for us. It worked out that this tournament asked us to be part of it, and it felt like the right fit. Also, our players wanted somewhere tropical, so we'll take Florida.
That sounds good, especially that tournament's in almost Thanksgiving, so it's. I think that sounds pretty darn good as well. On a selfish note, I got to tell you, I'm thrilled to see you playing St. Rose in this schedule because I grew up in Albany. Will Brown is a friend of mine. He's the old coach at UAlbany. He's going to have some detractors, I'm sure, back at Patrick Gym. But I'm excited to see, of all the D2 games to play, I'm excited you're playing against St. Rose. That's going to be cool for me to see.
Yeah, I think he's going to do a great job. We know he's a really talented coach, so I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. I am nervous.
Well, that looks like it'll be a fun one. Going through the league schedule quickly, it is a challenging league schedule from the sense that you get 3 of your first 4 on the road, and then your last 2 are on the road as well. I know schedule makers don't really give favors to anybody, but that doesn't seem real fair here that we're getting the front end and the back end road heavy here.
Yeah, I think I might have ticked off somebody, but no, I look at it. We got to play everybody on the road once. We got to play everybody at home once. So we got to take care of business. Would I spelled out that way if I had a choice? Sure, probably not. But we'll make the most of it because we have to. It is what it is.
Alisa Kresge, UVM women's basketball coach. I think November 2nd is the first time we're going to see your team on the floor. That's right. November 2nd against St. Mike's, and the season will start a couple days later after that. So we got a little less than a month here to iron out the kinks and get some things more finalized. We look forward to hearing about the process as you guys go, and we'll continue to follow along. We'll catch up again.
Well, we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Always appreciate you as well, Alisa Kresge, the UVM women's basketball coach. And I've heard that, and that's a nicety, I assume, right? Like she's saying, we appreciate your support. It's not like, Brady, you're some beacon of support for the program or you're the only one giving us any love. It's not really like that. But I'm in on this team and I'm in on this program. And I hope that you are as well, because a lot of people love the UVM men's basketball program. I love the UVM men's basketball program. My PSA to you for this year is to love the women's program too. And, there's a whole big movement about supporting women's sports, and I'm all for that. But this team in particular, man, they deserve your respect. Okay. They deserve your respect. They deserve your attention. They are really, really good. And there are 2 teams in Burlington that have a chance to go to the NCAA tournament this year. Now, this is not going to be a layup for them. The loss of Catherine Gilwey is a really big loss for this team. Okay, I said it multiple times last year. I said it when we found out Catherine Gilwey got hurt. Catherine Gilwey, I believe, was the engine that made that team go. Is she the best scorer on the UVM basketball team? No. Is she the best defender on the UVM basketball team? No. Is she the best athlete on the UVM basketball team? No. But she makes the thing go because she handles the ball, is a floor general, and put everybody in their spots to be successful, right? Anna Olson, Emma Utterback, Delaney Richardson, they can do what they do because Catherine Gilwey, I think, we talk about Drew Holiday making the life easier for Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis. That's Catherine Gilby. She brings the ball up. She handles the press. She gets everybody in her spots. She's calm with the ball. She knows where everybody's supposed to be. She directs traffic on the floor. She makes the right pass. She's fundamentally sound. You don't just replace that overnight. You don't. And when Alisa Kresge says, like, we could put Emma Utterback there, you could. I don't think that she wants to, and I don't think I want to, because Emma Utterback's really good at what she does. Emma Utterback is really good at using her athleticism, which is the best athleticism on the team. She's really good at cutting to the basket and coming off a dribble handoff and getting into a jump shot. She's better, I think, without the basketball in her hands, at least at the start of the offense, right? Like, it's very difficult to initiate offense for yourself. When Catherine Gilby initiates offense and Emma Utterback can be the recipient of that, she's really, really good. And she's really hard to stop because she can get a full head of steam going and she can go to the basket better than anybody on this team. So I don't think Alisa Kresge or Brady Farkas want to take her out of that role. So you need to have, like, it's going to be really hard to replace what Catherine Gilby does. And I don't think the answer is the other players that are big on the roster just sliding over. You're going to need somebody entirely new who hasn't done that job that we've seen to come in and do it. It's not going to be easy. And if you're asking me for one worry about this program, it's that. Because Catherine Gilby makes everything go. And her not being there is a very big deal. But this team deserves your respect and deserves your attention. Just like the Norwich women's hockey team does, just like a lot of teams, the Middlebury women's hockey team. There's a lot of great women's programs in this state. And UVM women's basketball is one of them. And November 6th coming up for the season opener, I think. November 2nd, I think I just said, for the first preseason game, the only preseason game against St. Mike's. So should be fun. Should be fun for both programs this year. We're going to get John Becker on again soon here coming up. Maybe get to know some of the guys on the men's team as well. Going to have an exciting announcement coming up at some point about our UVM basketball coverage. I'm not ready to announce that yet, but it is something that I'm very much looking forward to. Thanks to Buster, who joined us live. Thanks to Alisa Kresge, who joined us live as well. Tomorrow, we're going to talk Patriots and Saints. Deep dive on the Pats with Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston Patriots Insider. Thanks to all of you on the text line. Thanks to Danny. Full show podcast available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas is next.
When we need support, Vermonters know we can count on community.